Live. I'm gonna check my sound really quick, but it is certainly good to be back. I hope my internet connection holds up back here. Yep, sounds on. Everybody can hear me. It's good to go. 3 fights in 1 week. We have a lot to come back to. There's a lot to talk about since we're back. I'm glad that combat sports is back. I hope you are too. Uh, UFC 249 is the first card that we're going to talk about. Very, very deep card. You know, it's been about a month and a half. March 14th was the last fight. We're back. Yeah, James. March 14th was the last fight. So over a month and a half, coming on 2 months without any fights. Um, Bang ass card to come to. I mean, there's no surprise that there's a non-shortage amount of fighters that want to get fighting and want to get back to being active. But let's just jump right into it. 249, the main card's going to start off Greg Hardy versus Jorgen De Castro. Greg Hardy, 5-2 and 1, 2-2-1 in the UFC. I feel like that too, James. I appreciate that. If you make videos or something and you do something on your page, let me know. I'll subscribe and I'll watch your videos and shit. I appreciate that, and I agree with you. I'm much better than Luke Thomas at what we do. Greg Hardy, his most recent fight was decision loss to Alexander Volkov. That was in November 2019. In October, he had that 1-0 contest against Ben Sassoli, which was the inhaler issue. On the other hand, De Castro 6-0, 1-0 in the UFC with a knockout win over Justin Taffa. He won his Contender Series fight with a TKO over Alton Meeks. 5 out of 6 of his wins via TKO or knockout. It's going to be a brawl between Greg Hardy and Jorgen De Castro. The question is who's going to get tired first, who's going to take the first step back. Very hard to see. I think it's going to be a very hard decision to see which one of those guys is going to get the better of the other one. If I had to make an appropriate prediction, because that's what my job here is that De Castro just has a little bit more MMA experience. You know, he's I believe it's like 2013 or so. He's been fighting, whether it been amateur or pro, whatever. And Greg Hardy, I think in 2013, he was still in NFL, so he's rather new to the sport. He really didn't have that many amateur fights before he jumped straight in and jumped into being a pro. So I'm not really too sure. 6-0. I mean, he doesn't have that much pro experience in De Castro. My question would just be, you know, is that slight little bit more experience that De Castro have? Is that going to be the decision maker there? I'm going to say yes. I think especially if Greg Hardy isn't working on his wrestling and he plans to come out and just have a brawl, striking match with Jorgen De Castro, I think he's going to be on the losing end of either a long, really close decision, or he may fuck bugs. He may get knocked out. I think in the later round, second or third round, because I think De Castro is going to be able to keep up the constant pressure and keep the volume output the same in the first round as it will be in the third round. So I'm going Jorgen De Castro. Next fight up is Jeremy Stephens versus Kelvin Kattar. Stephens is 28-17-1. His last 2 fights are both against Yair Rodriguez. The first one of their 2 fights it ended in an eye poke really, really early, which was very, I guess, anticlimactic because they had all that back and forth, the beefing and stuff going on, and then the eye poke happens. So they immediately rebooked the fight. The beef gets stronger because Yair thinks, oh, you faked the eye poke to get out of the fight. Jeremy Stephens, of course, taking exception to that. Who wouldn't? So the build up to the second fight got a lot bigger, which ended in Yair Rodriguez taking home a decision there. So he is on technically a 2-fight losing streak. One of them was a DQ or a no contest, whatever they called it. 19 out of 28 of his wins are via TKO or knockout, and 12 out of 17 of his losses are via decision. So it's obvious to see he's not always the guy with his hand raised whenever it goes to decision. He commonly loses the point fighting and the stamina battles and things like that. But he is a finisher. He does, especially if you want to stand up and trade with him, which is exactly what we're probably going to see out of Calvin Kattar, because Calvin Kattar is really a boxer. He comes from a deep boxing background. He's 20-4. He's never been knocked out. He's only been submitted once. He's 4-2 in the UFC. Both of his losses were decisions. One was to Hanato Moicano. One was Zabit Nurmagomedov, or not Nurmagomedov. Magomed Sharapov. There it is. There his last name is. That was back in November. He way back. I think this is a fun fact about him. Way back in his fourth or fifth pro fight, he fought Kevin Roddy. Rodney Roddy. Kickboxing legend. Kattar got the opportunity to fight him early in his career and defeat him. If it's pretty much power striking versus world class boxing, and Kattar is known to put people away. He's known to get finishes, especially in the UFC. His only 2 losses are to really high level competition, and one of those guys, Yair Rodriguez, kind of ducked to beat. Everybody knows he ducked him. We can't say he ducked him because you can't prove that. But either way, he didn't want to fight Zabit for whatever reason, and Zabit ended up beating Kattar. But you know what I'm saying? MMA math doesn't work, but Jeremy Stephens kind of falls in below. If you're going to rank these guys based off of their history in the past couple of years, Stephens falls a little bit under Kattar based off of what they've done in the past couple of years. Now Stephens, what is this? Now this is going to be his 46th. This is going to be his 47th fight as a pro, and this is only going to be Kattar's 25th. So if we're talking about, overall what they've accomplished, their records, their experiences, and that, you got to give it to Stephens. But Kattar's younger. I think that wild brawl kind of mentality always kind of sees the shittier end of the high level boxer, high level kickboxer, counter striker, which I'm sure Calvin Kattar will try to be a really good counter striker in this fight. And that's honestly how I see the fight going. I see a Calvin Kattar come out and counter strike the fuck out of him for like maybe a round and a half, 2 rounds straight. The rest of the fight, he's just gonna tune him up. Like very similar, and I'm not comparing Stephens to McGregor. I'm not comparing Kattar to Floyd Mayweather, but it's gonna be similar to what Floyd Mayweather's game plan was against Conor McGregor, and that was just play defense. First couple rounds, land your shots, kind of, make it a conversation about who's winning that first round, and play defense. And then, with Floyd, it was like 10 rounds long, so he had the numbers game going. He could let him do it for a couple rounds. Now, if Kattar's going to play that game, he can't let Stephens do that for 2 rounds straight, because then if the judges put you down 2 rounds, now you got to get a knockout or you lost. Which, if by that time he could come out like Floyd and be aggressive like Floyd was, he could get the knockout. But you don't want to put your fate in the other fighter's stamina or in the judge's hands or something like that. You want to be able to control your own fate. So I think he lets him do it for maybe a round and a half, and then starts to turn the gas on and starts to try to really, really win the fight. The beginning, he'll maybe point fight and counter strike, and then he'll really come in for the kill. And I got Calvin Kattar in that fight as well. I think I don't look at the odds, but I wouldn't be surprised if I just picked 2 underdogs right off the bat. Francis Ngannou, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. 14-3 is Ngannou. He's never been finished. He has 100% finish rate. He's 9-2 in the UFC. Both his losses in the UFC were to Stipe, and that was for the title at the time. And he got, outworked by Stipe. He did land some good stuff, but he got outworked. And then the second one right after that was probably one of the worst fights we've ever seen, with him versus Derek Lewis, where he lost the decision. And a lot of people give that fight hell. I just call it the worst fight that we've ever seen. But at the same time, you got to respect both those guys who know the other man has so much power. And that's why they're not pulling the trigger, it's just because they realize, like, you know, I realize that I might be able to knock him out, but I also realize that he definitely could knock me out, so I'm going to be tentative with him. Both guys are thinking this in their heads. So it's kind of, that's why that fight went the way it did. But other than that, his record has been clean so far. He's got wins over Junior Dos Santos, Cain Velasquez, 2 wins over Curtis Blades, Alistair Overeem, and Andrei Arlovski. And that's where I think we might be giving the advantage to Francis Ngannou, just because Rosenstrick, both of them are kind of, a little bit in the same scenario as far as when they came into MMA. But Rosenstrick is 10-0, which means he has 7 less pro fights than Francis Ngannou, let alone what they probably did as amateurs. But here's the thing: why is because Rosenstrick was in kickboxing for the whole first part of his life. He's 76-8-1 as a kickboxer. So, you know, that's where you kind of say, whoa, okay, it was looking kind of like automatic for Francis Ngannou there for a second. The guy's got 7 more pro fights. The guy's faced way higher level of competition in the UFC. Rosenstrick only beating Junior Albini, Alan Crowder, Andrei Arlovski, and Alistair Overeem. He didn't beat the Junior Dos Santos. He didn't beat the Curtis Blades yet. He didn't beat Cain Velasquez. He hasn't fought that high level competition just yet. So there you say, whoa, and then you say he's got 7 less pro fights. So I mean, he just might not be there technique wise there, and then you definitely take a step back and you say, well, maybe Francis is the automatic guy here. Wait a minute, because Rosenstrick is a world class kickboxer. He has over 80 kickboxing matches, and he's won 76 of them. You know what I mean? The guy's a beast when it comes to kick. Starts raining. We gotta go. I gotta get this fucking umbrella up. I gotta get this fucking umbrella up. It starts raining. But world class kickboxer, and that just everything just evens out a little bit. Both these guys are knockout artists. I could see this going a lot like Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou, but I think for that reason of that fight happening, we probably won't have to see it stall out as much as Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou did. I think they'll actually take a little bit more risks. It won't be as boring as a fight, but I think it goes similar to that. And then if that's the case and nobody gets knocked out, which is what I'm going to guess, is that Rosenstrick is going to win that fight then, if that's the case. Because, if this is a point fight, I'm giving it to the almost 90 fight veteran, almost 85 fight kickboxing veteran. If we're coming down to points, we're giving it to him. And that's what I think it's going to come down to. So I'm going with Rosenstrick there. Also could be another underdog. Now you got Henry Cejudo fighting Dominic Cruz, which is an interesting one because Henry Cejudo was originally supposed to fight Jose Aldo, which would have been the 9th, the 3rd. It would have been May 3rd, so it would have been 2 days ago if none of this coronavirus shit happened. But everything happened. I guess Jose Aldo is in a place where he can't get over here, or visas or something is fucking up. So they canceled that fight. And instead of, I don't think Aldo's ready from his hand yet. I don't know why they didn't offer it to Jan, or maybe Jan can't get out of Russia and he's not available to fight either. They gave it to Dominic Cruz. So Dominic Cruz hasn't fought since he lost his title to Cody Garbrandt in December 2016. So definitely like 3.5, coming up on 3.5 years ago was his last fight. And he's 22-2. He's got a great record. One of those was to Garbrandt, one of them was to Faber. He's got 1 submission loss only on his record. He's never been knocked out. He's 5-1 in the UFC. Yeah, I'm right about that. He's only that one loss to Faber was his only finished loss, and that was a submission. He got think I caught in the rear naked choke. Oh, no. I think I caught in the guillotine. Maybe it was rear naked. I can't remember what happened with Cruz and Faber the first time. But Faber got the better of him. That was one of his losses. Garbrandt was the other one. He hasn't fought since 2016, man. I don't jump straight to a title fight. I don't know about you guys, but it's going to be scary. It's going to be really scary to put any money down on Cruz. I'm not picking him I'm not even going to read pseudo shit. I'm not picking Cruz based off, Nate Diaz did it off like maybe 2 years, maybe a year and a half. Cruz has done it before off a year and a half, 2 years. This guy's been out over 3 years now. He's been out of sport over 3 years. With injury after injury / work in UFC / injury / work in UFC. He just never been fighting. And this guy's going to come back and fight a dude that has come back and fight at a high level. Now he's fighting a dude that has beat Demetrius Johnson. Okay. He beat Marlon Moraes for the bantamweight title. He beat Demetrius Johnson for the flyweight title. He beat TJ Dillashaw for whatever title he had. He beat TJ Dillashaw for his own 125-pound title. TJ Dillashaw came down. His only 2 losses were to Joseph Benavidez and Demetrius Johnson. Demetrius Johnson, he overcame that one already. So, this guy is like one of the best fighters in the UFC, hands down, especially on paper. He's on a 5-fight winning streak right now. He's an animal at that lower weight class. I think he's going to run into some tough fights coming up. But dude, Dominic Cruz, I don't know if that was one of them. I don't know if we're going to see the same Dominic Cruz. And if we do, can that Dominic Cruz that's got the sick footwork with can he stop Cejudo from taking him down? Because that's what it's going to be. He won't be able to hands up Cruz like he hands up Dillashaw and Moraes and all this shit. But if he takes you down, man, I'm not putting my money on Cruz if he's getting taken down by Cejudo. 100%. Not doing it. So I'm going Cejudo there. As much as I would love to see, think about this, guys. Watch. Cody Garbrandt just said he was coming back down to 135, right? Cruz's last fight lost his belt to Cody Garbrandt in 2016. It's the 135-pound belt, right? That same belt Cruz is fighting for. If Cruz wins, right? Garbrandt's already come down to 135 now. He's coming back. No. Oh, he said he's going down to 125. Whatever. Cruz stays at 135. Garbrandt stays at 135, right? Garbrandt gets the next shot at Cruz, beats him again. That means Cruz came back, was good enough to beat Cejudo, came back, just could not beat Garbrandt again. Garbrandt beats Cruz, comes to 135-pound champion again. Imagine how fucking crazy that storyline is. You telling me? I hope fucking Cruz wins. I'll be rooting for him all night. I hope I get that one wrong, for real. I really do hope I get it wrong, but it's too big. It's too big of a gap. I can't take that kind of chance on Cruz. He's came back like that before, I know, but it's a lot of time. And Cejudo's a guy that just, he fought last year, and he's not fought in June, so he's like 8, 9 months. No. He's like 11 months. He's 11 months from his last fight. But still, 11 versus like 30, 40. 11 versus 40. Take 11. And a lot of that time, Cruz has spent injured, and Cejudo has spent just training. Cejudo got jacked. They show pictures of him on, I think it was like My MMA News or some shit like that, and Cejudo's so jacked, man. So, no good for Cruz, man. I don't think. I hope it's good. I hope he wins, but I don't think so. That brings us to the main event of this first card, UFC 249. And that main event is Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje. It was supposed to be Tony Ferguson and Khabib. That got canceled for the millionth time. Khabib. They were supposed to be on the original date of the card. They were going to do something. And they weren't telling nobody the place. So nobody knew where to go, even though the place was in California. So it was a rumor that it was going to be in. There was a rumor that the UFC was going to be in Dubai, Abu Dhabi. So Khabib flies to Abu Dhabi. They won't let him in Abu Dhabi. So he figures no fight. So he goes back home to Russia. Russia closes the airports and stuff, no in and out. Or they canceled to the United States or something. There was something made, like on the day that he flew back to Russia or the day after, or whatever. So he's not allowed out of Russia until they lift that. And I guess they haven't lifted it yet. Or maybe they just, if by now, if they lifted it, maybe he's just that far into Ramadan. He's just like, fuck, I'm not fighting until after Ramadan. So, I don't know. So he's fighting Justin Gaethje, which is still a great fight. I think I'm scared for this fight, man, because I think Tony Ferguson, I think both these guys against Khabib, it's fucking sick fights. One, Justin Gaethje, we're talking about collegiate wrestler, D1 wrestler. What was D1? Division, whatever. Wrestler. He's a fucking beast wrestler. When he first started fighting, that's what he relied on, his body slams and his wrestling hard, takedowns. But now he just turned into a brawler. His only two losses, he's 21-2. His only two losses are Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez. Both those losses are by TKO or knockout. He's 4-2 in the UFC. Those are his two losses. He beat Michael Johnson, James Vick, Edson Barbosa, and Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone fight was in September. 18 out of 21 of his wins are by TKO or knockout, which matches up insanely with this guy and Ferguson, who just throws everything. Caution to the wind, throws whatever, elbows, fucking spinning, flipping, all this fucking weird shit. He's 25-3. He's never been knocked out. He's only been submitted once. He's 20 out of 25 of his fights via finish, 12 knockouts, 8 submissions. He's currently on a 12-fight winning streak. That dates back to 2013, which he last lost to Michael Johnson. That was his only UFC loss. So common opponent, he lost to Michael Johnson. And Justin Gaethje beat Michael Johnson. Now Justin Gaethje beat Michael Johnson way after Tony Ferguson lost to Michael Johnson. You know, not to say anything about like Michael Johnson got worse, but like I'm just saying that's like a lot earlier in Tony's career than it happened in Justin's career. So not really a good judge of MMA math there. You know, when I see a fight like this, I think he's gonna go balls to the walls like he is, and Ferguson can 100% get clipped, and we've seen him get clipped before. Is he gonna get finished, or is he gonna be able to survive? If it gets on the ground, is Gaethje's wrestling gonna be able to be more, or is it gonna be Ferguson's jiu-jitsu? What's gonna happen? I got this fight dead even, but I've made a bet already with my buddy. He took Gaethje, I took Ferguson. I guess just for the hell of it, because we both agreed that it's a very close fight. So I'm gonna make my pick Ferguson just because, you know. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna put it on Ferguson just because, um, whoever wins is gonna be a great fight against Khabib. Um, I hope they both get to fight Khabib at one point, and it's just one more fight until that. Whoever loses this fight, they're one more fight away from possibly fighting the winner of Khabib and whichever one of those guys wins. So they're in line for a rematch 6 months down the line, max away. Whether they lose or they win, they both win no matter the outcome. So that's a cool fight. Rest of that card consists of Donald Cerrone versus Anthony Pettis, who I also put money on, so I'll put my pick in now, Donald Cerrone. Alexio Linick versus Fabricio Verdum. That's a great grappling fight. Carlos Esparza and Michelle Waterson. Uriah Hall, Jacare Souza, which I've already put my bet in for, and that's Jacare Souza. Vicente Luque, Nico Price, Bryce Mitchell, Char Rosa, Ryan Spann versus Sam Alvey. That is one hell of a card to come back to, and very smart to not skip the pay-per-view and go straight to a pay-per-view first thing coming back, because people haven't had sports and I don't know how fucking long. Everybody's missing sports. This is going to be the first high-level sport that comes back. They're going to get a lot of, non-MMA fans, just a lot of sports fans in general that just have nothing to watch as of late and are going to want to put something on. They're going to make a lot of money. Pay-per-views wise, is it going to be enough to make up for the attendance? We'll see. We'll see how long these guys can survive like this, I wouldn't imagine. I don't know if they're making like dirty amounts of money, but they can't really be, because if you're paying your fighters that low, then you got to be losing money somewhere. I know you're getting paid a lot, but you got to be losing the money somewhere if you're paying the fighters that little, or you're making a shit ton of money off of fighters, and then something's got to be done about that. And to be honest, this is what I heard. Honestly, this is my insider. I see a lot of fighters talk about the only way the pay scale in the United States, or the only way the pay scale in MMA would fluctuate to the fighters and actually let the fighters make some of this crazy amounts of money that the promotion and all this shit makes in the UFC, is that they have to go on strike. They'd have to make a fighters union, and in order to make a fighters union, they got to go on strike or something like that. It's the only way it worked in NBA. It's the only way it worked in NFL. The only way it worked in baseball, whatever. So they're giving me all these facts. This is why. This is why. This is why. But then my answer to that is, dude, we just had COVID-19. If you guys would have went on that shit in March, I know I'm greedy. I'm glad we're getting the fights here in May, but shit comes back in May. You make it so that you have a fucking negotiation platform there, man. You say, hey, man, we're on strike, and if you want us to come back, the first sport back in May, and you don't want to fucking get beat by the NFL and all these other things, and you want to be the first guys back, hey, man, we're gonna need to start a union, and we're gonna need to start getting paid like that. You know what I mean? So they would have had negotiation factors there. So it would have been the perfect time to do it. Even if they got to hold out for a couple more months, it is what it is, man. Then that's what you got to do, and then you make it right for. I mean, at least the younger fighters. At least the younger fighters should have been trying to do it, because then, you lose a year max. They're not going to stay close for a year. They stay close for a year. They close their business. They throw away their ties. That's not feasible. I don't think that would be what they would do. So I just don't. That's not what I would see a professional company do. Like the NFL wouldn't just throw the NFL away because their players went on strike. They didn't. Basketball didn't. I don't even know if the NFL ever went on strike, but the NBA did. MLB did. They got back. Players got done right. Those are high pay. Those are very, very, very high paying professional occupations. So MMA fighters could have done it too. This would have been the perfect time. And I don't know, maybe they tried to do something and they got shut down, and I'm just stupid. I'm talking out my ass. Maybe I'm saying something that was mad obvious and they tried it and it just didn't work. But if nobody tried it, I would have. If I was a fighter contracted under the UFC, I would have definitely campaigned to try to take the Dana White and tell him that, or the owners or whoever, and tell them, we're unionizing and we got to go on strike or whatever, and then boom, go on strike. 1 year later, you're getting paid what? Let's just say you get like let's say right now a fighter gets paid all right, let's say Conor McGregor takes home like 10, 15 mil, right? Or gets paid, let's just say by the UFC 10, 5 or 10, right? Um, for one fight. So which means he would do like a 3-fight deal for like 15 or 20, 25, million contract. Now, what would you take to go from that from like a fucking 5-fight deal worth like 150 million? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're talking about fucking making 30 million a fight. Conor McGregor when he used to make 5. Imagine what that would do for guys that make like 5 grand and shit like that, 10 grand on the prelims. That would fucking boom. They become now it's like NFL level. Now it's just they would think they would try to get their fighters there because they are still not passing like NFL, NBA. They're not getting on that kind of level yet, but they're only like doing it halfway. They're like stop. I mean, maybe they're trying to get their pockets so big that they could just pay for it all and pay to get to the top. You know, which I feel that seems to work in today's environment. But at the same time, you start paying your athletes. These athletes start becoming, the scale becomes higher now. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't really know what I'm trying to portray here, but UFC should fucking watch this video and take some advice. I think. That's just me. But either way, we're gonna go over the May 13th card as well, only because the next time I'll see you guys will be for a fight companion on May 13th. We are doing a fight companion. We're gonna watch the thing. I'm gonna see if I can get Ian here or over video or something, and we're gonna watch the fights. We do the reactions. We just hang out and chill. That will be next Wednesday, May 13th, and the card starts off. Right now, they have 11 fights, and they just announced one last night. So I would assume if they're going to go 12 fights like they did for this card, they're going to add one more fight. But here we go. Starting off the main card right now would be Marvin Vittori versus Carl Robinson. Carl Robinson, 9-2. Both his career losses are via submission. Glover Teixeira and Cesar Ferreira. He's 4-2 in the UFC. Like I said, Teixeira and Ferreira were his losses. His most notable UFC wins were Jack Marshman and Darren Stewart. 6 out of his 9 wins are via finish. So Robinson's a finisher. He's only lost to 2 veterans, like way more experience in him. Are the only 2 fights that he's ever lost in his entire career. He'll be going against Marvin Vittori. He has a little bit more experience in him, but not near the experience of Cesar Ferreira or Glover Teixeira. So that takes that aspect away. He's 14-4-1. All 4 of his losses were decisions. He's 4-2-1 in the UFC. His most notable wins are over Andrew Sanchez and Cesar Ferreira, who Carl Robinson lost to, and that was his most recent fight, actually. 10 out of 14 of his wins are via finish. 8 submissions and 2 knockouts. So he's a submission guy. He's going to want to take it to the ground. Yeah, I'm probably going to say he's going to be able to do that with Carl Robinson, to be completely honest. And, if he was able to beat Cesar Ferreira in grappling and Cesar Ferreira was able to out-grapple Carl Robinson, and those guys fought both those guys very recently, that's the times where I kind of say, oh, that might be adding up there. I think Marvin Vittori is going to come back big, huge, either finish TKO in the 3rd round or a decision win over Carl Robinson. Ricky Simone, Ray Borg. Simone's 15-3, currently on a 2-fight losing streak right now. Losing by TKO to Uriah Faber and decision to Rob Font. He's 3-2 in the UFC. I started really hot, and then he won 3 straight. in the UFC, and they thought he was going to be the next big thing. He loses to Faber and Rob Font. And now you're starting to think, oh, well, wait a minute. Now he's going to prove himself. He goes against Ray Borg. That's a good prove yourself because that guy's 13-4. He's a veteran of that what's the division called? Flyweight division. Ray Borg has only been finished once in his whole entire career, and that was by submission. He's 7-4 in the UFC. 6 out of 13 of his wins via submission. He's currently on a 2-fight winning streak over Gabriel Silva and Rogério Barnton. And that fight was in February of 2020, so February of this year right here. And he has missed weight. Another notable thing, and this is what I think the conversation is going to be surrounding Ray Borg here, is he has missed weight in 4 at his UFC contest, and he's 7 and what in the UFC? 7-4. So never mind. But he has missed weight a good bit in the UFC, and that's not a good thing, man. Especially in the UFC and at different weight classes too, at bantamweight and at flyweight. He also missed for bantamweight, so not good look for Ray Borg, to be honest. And then so he's got to fight that battle right away. Ricky Simone is looking for revenge. He's coming off 2 losses. He needs to get back in the win column. He's fighting for a spot in the company. This is a good guy to do it against. I think he will do it against Ray Borg here. He'll get his name. Ricky Simone will get his name back in the win column. So I'm going Ricky Simone there. Alexander Hernandez versus Drew Dober. I don't know if that's true. I thought, hold on. Now I got to look something up. Now I really got to look something up. Hernandez was fighting. I'm going to go look on the UFC website to see if I wrote something down wrong, because I might have. Did the UFC not release the fucking... Yeah, Alexander Hernandez, Drew Dober. Damn, what the fuck happened with Kevin Holland? Why they took Kevin Holland off the fucking card? Either way, goddamn, I just realized that was fucked up. Hernandez 11-2. He's never been submitted. He's only been knocked out once. 3-1 in the UFC. He's only lost to Don Cerrone. His only other loss, it was in his third pro fight to Jamal Emmers. So that's another notable guy that, it's not too bad on his record that he lost to those 2 guys. Drew Dober is 22-9-1, 15 out of 22 his wins via finish. He's only been knocked out once by Nasrat Haqparast. He's 8-5-1.